All right, this is the first guest we've had in a couple weeks on the show, but it is a big guest, a legendary performer in the World Wrestling Federation, the first African American Intercontinental Champion, one of the biggest and most influential wrestlers of the time period during the New Generation and Attitude Era. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Ahmed Johnson. Thank you for joining me on the show today.
No problem.
How is things in Texas currently for you?
Oh, it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah. It's we talked a little bit before we started recording, and seems like you've been staying busy and you're occasionally doing wrestling interviews like this one today. And have you done appearances in a while?
Man, I got so many appearances and podcasts that people want me to do. I just don't really have the time to do them all.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you making time for this one. And,
No
you know,
problem.
I was doing a lot of research leading up to this, though, to be honest, I'm a big WWF fan from back in that time period in the 90s. And so a lot of it is stuck in my brain, a lot of the things that you did and accomplished. And one of the things that I noticed in a lot of interviews that you did, you talked very highly about Owen Hart. And Owen is back in the wrestling eye, in the wrestling scope once again, because I don't know if you follow any of the current product, but they're actually doing an Owen Hart Memorial Tournament for him in AEW. I was wondering if you could share some of your experiences with Owen and how it feels to know that he's finally getting the credit he deserves in professional wrestling in this day and age.
Well, see, that's the key thing. Owen he deserved credit way before now, man. I mean, he was one of the best ring generals in the ring that you could ever get. And it's just sad that it's taken this long for people to, open up their eyes and see who Owen Hart really was.
Yeah.
People see him as the Blue Blazer and these other characters, but Owen was a ring general. Like I said, one of the best. And he was just a good friend of mine, man. He loved to play jokes on me and play games on me, and he was just the best, man.
Owen was legendary for his ribs. What are some of your favorite locker room ribs involving Owen Hart?
Well, most of them are on me, so I mean, I don't know. One time, I remember he took a stink bomb. You know what a stink bomb is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I messed around. I don't know why I told Owen that I was meeting my in-laws for the first time at the match. Got them a box seat up high so they can see the match and everything. And then I went after the match. I went and got dressed because I was going to go up there and meet him. And I was getting dressed, I kept smelling like dog dookie, man. And I was like, what in the hell is this dog dookie smell coming from? In my bag.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, and no matter what I put on, it smelled like that. And I had to go upstairs and meet them. So I went upstairs, put a bunch of cologne on, and it didn't work. So I went upstairs, man, and met them smelling like dog doo.
Oh my God.
That was my first time meeting these people. I was like, oh my God.
Good first impression.
I did it, and him and Davey Boy would always switch off and on. Owen did it. No, Davey did it. Owen did it. No, Davey did it.
That's awesome. There's another story that you tell about Owen pranking you into thinking you were doing the Jay Leno show.
Oh yeah, where I was in my room during Wrestlemania. That's the big time of the year, So I'm in my room, in my hotel room, and my phone rings. And we were doing all kind of appearances for all kind of people. And the phone rang and it says, hey, this is the Jay Leno show. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great, I'm like, yeah, and I'm answering all these questions, how many people, how many kids you got, how many people in your family, how many this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting there answering them all. And he said, well, we want to come and pick you up tomorrow morning. I don't know what's tomorrow night. It was like in the evening type of deal. And so I was like, all right, that's cool. That's cool. So I went out to the mall and brought me a brand new suit, some brand new shoes, man, that cost a fortune. And got me a little hat, and I was just sparkling, man. And I'm outside waiting for the limo to come pick me up. And while I'm waiting for the limo, Owen comes out. Then Davey comes out. And Owen's like, I mean, why are you so dressed up? I said, I got Jay Leno show to do tonight. And he's like, man, that's bullshit. You doing Jay Leno show? I haven't even did Jay Leno show. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm just doing what people call for me to do. And then Davy Boy comes out, and I should know something was funny because he was real quiet at first. And so I'm sitting there, man, waiting for the limo. And then it dawned on me, how would they know my limo's coming at this particular time? But I still didn't think nothing of it. And then when David Boy came out, Brett came out a little later and was like, Ahmed, that was Owen that called you. That wasn't David Leno. That was Owen that called you. I was like, oh man. And they fell over laughing, him and Davy Boy. I mean, they fell over laughing.
That's awesome. He got you good.
Yeah. Then I had this new suit and new shoes and I think for nothing. And I was like, oh.
You never ended up wearing it for anything else?
Huh?
You never ended up wearing it for anything else?
I wore it to church.
Okay. All right. Well, at least it got some use. You brought up WrestleMania and you got to experience two WrestleManias, WrestleMania 12 and WrestleMania 13. For you, growing up a wrestling fan and eventually getting into the business in the late 80s, early 90s, for you, was being able to participate in WrestleMania the pinnacle?
Yes. Yes, it was. It wasn't better than winning the Intercontinental belt. That's to me, that was my pinnacle.
Sure.
When I won the Intercontinental belt. But yeah, WrestleMania was up there.
I definitely want to talk about your Intercontinental Championship win because it was historic for many, many reasons.
Right.
When we talk about WrestleMania, we're going to jump around a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about your childhood because I can relate to some of the things that you went through growing up and your athletic background. But since we're on the subject of WrestleMania, WrestleMania 13, one of the highlights of your career was teaming with the LOD in the street fight against the Nation of Domination. Talk to me about that match and what that meant to you.
I'm still hurting from that match.
It was pretty brutal.
That was a rough match there, man. Because you had 6 guys, well, they had more than 6 because they had their little clones out there. But
Right.
basically, you had 6 guys in the ring that all 6 of them were guys that really didn't give a shit which way it went. It was a battle to see who was the toughest. Is really what it came down to.
Yeah.
And man, it was painful. It was a painful match, but it was one set on my mind for I had to get my revenge on Farouk because when he kicked me on my ribs at the time, I still haven't played him back.
Sure.
So I was able to give him his receipt that match. Taking him through them tables, and then I bust his ribs, and he ended
Yeah.
up going to the hospital after the match.
Yeah.
But it was a brutal match, man.
Yeah. It's one of the more memorable ones of WrestleMania. Now, a match like that, working with legends like LOD and working with Farouk and those guys, how much planning went into that match? Like, how much did you guys call, or was it something that you guys just had a general outline and you just went out there and did it?
We just had outline went up there and did it. We didn't call anything. We just went out there, and it was basically a shoot match from the word go.
Yeah.
And you can do a shoot match with respect for the person you're doing it, not trying to kill them, but you're not trying to soften up the blows too much either. And that match was set like that. It was to the point where I didn't want to hit him to hurt him or kick him to hurt him, but I want you to know I've been there.
Right.
And that's the way they felt too. So it was like battles of the tough guys is what we really like.
Yeah. You were such a large individual, such a larger than life individual, but for your size, your athleticism was, I believe, way ahead of its time. Some of the things that you
Yeah.
did over the top rope and off the top rope, I mean, it was crazy for a guy your size. Now, um, did you pattern your style off of someone, or was it something that you just wanted to do to stand out? Because again, a lot of bigger individuals weren't doing the things that you were doing in the mid 90s.
No, it just came naturally, man. I mean, I didn't, pattern my style after anyone. Um, One person I used to love to watch wrestle was Nikita Koloff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't pattern my style after him or anything, but I patterned, my red patterning after him, my trunks and my boots. And I was
Okay.
just a Koloff fan.
Yeah.
And that's where that went down.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the color of your gear, the way your gear looked. Now, during the time when you enter the WWF, it's a different time period in wrestling, and you were sort of in the middle of the transition. At the time, there was a lot of very cartoonish characters. Now, when you entered the Federation, uh, we hear often that a lot of the guys were given designs by creative services, the way their
Right,
character was going to look. Your character not only was very colorful with the red on, but also very unique to you that I haven't seen before or since. You wore a number of elbow pads and knee pads. Talk
right.
to me about doing that for the character. Like, did you come up with that idea? And was it something that you did to set yourself apart? Like, what was the mindset behind the way Ahmed Johnson looked? And was it all from your brain?
Yeah, it was something I thought of, and something I did even from the tape over my under my I mean on my arms, you know. I didn't see too many guys doing that, so I started doing that. You know, I took my knee pads and pulled them up to my thighs, made them thigh pads,
Yeah.
and it's just something I thought of to do, and I did it.
Yeah, it made you stand out for sure. And the Ahmed Johnson name, who came up with that?
The federation did.
Were you okay with it, or did you have any other suggestions, or you were just like, "Hey, I'm happy for this opportunity. I'll go with whatever you're telling me."
No, I was cool with Ahmed Johnson because it was a name, and it could have went either way. It could have went heel, could have went babyface. There's no term like Ahmed Johnson, you know. It's just the name that they gave me, and I went with it because it was so open to different, suggestions.
Were you relieved that you weren't saddled with a cartoonish gimmick? Because again, you came into the Federation at a time where they're garbage men and plumbers, and you stood out not only because of your look and your athleticism, but you seemed like a genuine badass. There was an intensity about you. I would imagine that you were happy that you weren't giving one of those ridiculous characters.
I was very happy, because some ridiculous names came up like Buck Bronson and what else did they say? But Burt Bronson was one of them. I can't think of the other names, but they were so corny, and they would have gave me this stigma of being this particular type of person in the ring, and I couldn't have been like when I came out. They never told me if I was a babyface or a heel. They never told me up to the day. They have never told me if I was a babyface or a heel.
Wow.
They just gave me the name Ahmed Johnson and shot me to the wolves and see what the wolves do with him.
Yeah.
And fans loved it, from the slam Yokozuna, and from there it took off.
Yeah, you slamming Yokozuna was one of the first things you did in the Federation, and that's a big push to get off the bat, because if you go back a couple years, they ended up giving that same opportunity to Lex Luger, and
Right.
we sort of seen how that run panned out for him. But the idea that they would put you with someone like Yoko, a former WWF champion, it seemed like right from the beginning, Vince wanted to give you the push. So talk to me about the opportunity to get the body slam Yokozuna. How receptive was Yoko to that? And I guess talk to me a little bit about your relationship with Vince McMahon, because it seemed right off the rip he really wanted to run with you and push you to the top.
Well, with Yoko, it was an honor, and more it goes, the more of an honor I see that it was. At the time I didn't see it as a great honor because it was just one wrestler against another to me. And like I said, I hadn't even locked in on my character, how I come out with so much intensity. And even today, they're trying to duplicate that intensity, but they can't. Just like you can't duplicate Stone Cold or The Rock. You just can't do it. And you can't duplicate that intensity that I had, because everybody that tries to do it, it seems so fake. It's like acting. It seems like what it is acting. But me, that's just where I came out, man. If I was going in a street fight, I would pump my intensity up like that. And that's just where it was. And as far as Vince go, man, yeah, in the beginning, I mean, I really thought that, he was behind me and going to give me this great push. But as I went on, I found out it wasn't Vince that didn't want to give me the world title. It was other wrestlers like Shawn Michaels. They didn't want to see me push that high. I don't know, personal reasons, or it's just so much that can go into that pot. That's
Sure.
why they didn't, want me to do it. And I mean, I was green. I'll say that. I was still green and still learning, but I think I was ready for the world title shot. And because, Sean had the belt and everything, he basically got to pick who he was going against. I mean, he was running the show back then.
Sure.
He was basically got to pick who he won against, and he didn't think, from what I understand, what I heard, he didn't think that it was time for a black man to be world champion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, I can't say how he say that when I was Intercontinental Champion and I was popping the house everywhere we went.
Yeah. And,
But,
and historically, when someone gets the Intercontinental Championship, especially during those times, you're basically the next in line for the WWF title shot.
right. So, I don't know what the deal was for him and his reasoning, but, it is what it is, man.
Well, since we're talking about it, let's talk about that Intercontinental Championship opportunity. It ends up happening at King of the Ring 1996. You said it yourself, it's the highlight of your career. But to get there, there was a very interesting angle with one Goldust that gets us to King of the Ring 96. If you saw it when it happened, you'll never forget it. You experienced it. You know where I'm going. Talk to me about this segment on Monday Night Raw.
Oh, man, we had practiced it beforehand because it was live, and we had already went over it. And Goldust decided he was going to play a ha-ha on me. So I went and got, we did the match. I ended up on the stretcher. They rolled me out. And when we practiced it, Goldust was supposed to put his hand over my mouth like this and kiss his hand. But he wanted to go a step further and kiss me for real. And I was like, what the? But there was nothing I could do because it was live. I had to sit there and take it, man. So when I got up, I was a little bit peeved about that. When I got up off that stretcher. That's my poor Bob Holly up with one hand and back in the back, and it was, explosion from there. And then they asked who's going to stand in front of the door to outfit to come through. And this jobber raised his hand and said, "Oh, I'll do it, and I'll do it." Like, he wasn't scared to do it, or, just no respect when he said it. So I said, "Okay, you stand right there, because I'm coming." He stood there and I came like a bullet out of a gun.
Now, see, everybody remembers the kiss from Goldust, but I remember you pushing that jobber through the door because I used to laugh and rewind it because it was like the noise you make and the ferocity in which you push him. It is hilarious to me. Like, that guy must have had no idea what he was getting himself into.
No, he could have made a career out of that one, I'm telling you.
Did you talk to him after the fact?
No, I couldn't find him after the fact.
They might have had to take him on that stretcher that you were on.
Yeah, I think he had the toys and went home, man.
So leading up to the match with Goldust, I would imagine you probably worked some house shows with them before King of the Ring 96.
Did we do the house shows? Let me think. Yeah, we worked some house shows, but nothing to that point, where he was going to kiss me or anything.
Right. How did you enjoy working with Dustin in general? Like, did you learn a lot from him?
Yes, Dustin is a great worker, man. He was, basically I let him call a match, and he just calls a hell of a match, man. He knows what he's doing in the ring. He's one of the best. I would have to say he's right up there with Owen in him.
That's high praise.
Yeah, I have to say that.
Talk to me about the memories of King of the Ring 96 that day, June 23rd, 1996. Yes, I have that date memorized. It's your biggest moment. You win the Intercontinental Championship. Talk to me about that day, your memories from that experience.
Well, that day, I almost blew it. I almost blew the Intercontinental Championship because, it was the first person to touch the floor was going to get the shot.
Okay.
And when Dustin hit me, we both went over the ropes. I don't know if you remember seeing that when we both went over the ropes, and I wasn't supposed to go over the ropes.
Oh, no.
But I didn't touch the floor. My feet got hung up in the rope, thank God. I hung up in the rope, and my hand was like that far from touching the ground.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Owen touched the ground. My hand was that far from touching the ground. But that's not the way we scripted. That's just the way it happened, because Owen's foot got under mine, and it tripped me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I went over the rope, and that close to messing it up.
Wow.
I did not want him, and Vince got a hell of a show out that. Something that wasn't scheduled, but he got a hell of a show out that, man.
Yeah, I can imagine. But that night, talk to me about winning the Intercontinental Championship and what that meant for you to be the first African American Intercontinental Champion. Did you understand the historical significance of what you were experiencing in that moment?
Honestly, no, I didn't appreciate the how can I say it, the whole magnitude of the situation. I didn't realize how important it was going to be later on down the line. You know, with all these other black wrestlers in there winning the Intercontinental Championship, winning championships, to be the first, it didn't dawn on me how important that was until later on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, today there's so many African Americans getting large opportunities in WWE. Do you follow the product at all? Do you keep up with the way that they're using the African American wrestlers today on TV?
Yeah, I watch them every now and then.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see guys like Kofi Kingston and Bobby Lashley become the WWE
Yes.
champion. Is there anybody that stands out to you?
Right now, Bobby Lashley does,
He's got a
and
very similar look to what you had.
yeah, almost the same.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. And one black guy that I think will be a great champion, world champion, is Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He will be a great champion. I don't know why they're holding the pushback on him, man.
I don't know. He's always been incredibly athletically
Yes,
gifted, and I feel like it's just they're wasting his potential.
yes, they are. He will be great, man, as a champion.
What
Because
do
he
you
can
think?
talk, he can work. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
what more do you want from the kid?
yeah, he's a total package. What about Big E? Big E was someone that recently had the WWE Championship, a guy that just oozes charisma, incredibly athletic. He recently, unfortunately, suffered a broken neck. I don't know if you saw
Right.
that, so he's going to be
Hmm.
out for a little bit. But are you a fan of Big E?
Um, Big E is another one that's a great wrestler and a great promo talker. I just think that Shelton Benjamin has the whole package.
Yeah, I mean, he
I
came up in
put it
that same
together.
class with Brock Lesnar, and just
Right,
the athletic credentials that he has. He's pretty awesome.
right. If I had to put it all together, Shelton Benjamin would be my man.
It's a good choice.
Yeah,
Uh, so you win the Intercontinental Championship. You are embedded in this feud with the Nation of Domination and Farouk. You talked about the kick that he gave you. I believe it was the summer of 1996. It took you out of action for a little bit. That had to be a very disheartening experience for you. You're getting this major push, and then you were forced to vacate the Intercontinental Championship. What was going through your mind through that period of time?
oh, that teed me off when that happened. That teed me off. And then they gave him the nation that was supposed to like be protecting him and stuff. It was a good storyline. I mean, a great storyline. I just think we went a little too long with it. Because I mean, every time I got to arena, they're fighting. You have to look on the list to see who I was fighting. It was Ahmed against the Nation, Ahmed against the Nation. But the thing about it is, we kept the crowd into it all those matches, all those months. We kept the crowd into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important, to keep the crowd into your gimmick and to what you're doing.
Absolutely. And other than the Intercontinental Championship and other than working Farouk, one of the other highlights for you, I think personally, and I'm sure you'll agree, is you won the Kuwaiti Cup, and I believe you beat Triple
Yeah.
H in the finals. I think you're on record as saying that's one of your all-time favorite matches.
Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite matches and one of my all-time favorite places to work was Kuwait. That was, man, they treated us like royalty down there.
Yeah,
And
talk to me about that whole experience.
oh man, that experience was something else. I mean, from the time we got there, to these king size rooms they gave us, to treating us like we were, part of the royal family, man. It was something else. Like when I got down with my match, one of the sheiks in Kuwait, one of the leaders, came and picked me up. They called my room and was like, Ahmed, you need to come downstairs. It's like, for what? It's like, oh, just come downstairs. Somebody wants to meet you. So I came downstairs, man, and it was a Sheik. I mean, first he had like 20 police officers with him, all around him, protecting him. Then he was like, "I want to take you with me on the trip to the mall." And I was like, "I'm not gonna say no." So we
Right.
get outside, and there's this big limo, and there's like 11 to 12 cars in the front, 11, 12 police cars in the back, motorcycles and everything, man. I feel like pure royalty. And then we drove to the mall, and I got to the mall, and they had shut the mall down. And except for the store owners, they were all there. And I'm walking in there, man, they're giving me gold rings, blankets, all kind of stuff. They're just giving it to me.
Wow.
And some of the owners are in there in the shop saying, I mean, please bless my baby, bless my baby. All they want me to do is kiss their baby.
Wow.
Yeah, they were saying like that was a blessing to the baby, which I don't like that because I'm a Christian and I believe nobody should be above the Lord.
Sure.
Nobody can bless your baby but the Lord. And I'm not no kind of Lord. But it was, they were doing all that, and it freaked me out more than anything else. I mean, I was freaked out, man.
I can imagine.
Dreamed of something like that happened. People want me to kiss their babies for good luck, and
Yeah.
like, man, if I kiss this baby, if I can bring them bad luck, but if that's what you want, well, I'll give it to you.
Right. Talk to me about working with Hunter. At that time, the Clique had quite the reputation backstage. The Clique, of course, is Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, 1-2-3 Kid. Talk to me about working with Hunter. Did you have any animosity with the Clique? I mean, clearly you guys must have gelled good enough to have one of your all-time favorite matches.
Working with Hunter was one of the greatest things I ever did, man. Because like I said, he called the match, and I was still green, and he was leading me and showing me what to do and telling me to do this, that, and other, and would turn out to be a outstanding match. But with the Clique, they didn't mess with me for some reason. Probably did behind the scenes, like I told you. I didn't become world champion because Shawn Michaels didn't think I was ready, whatever reasons, he may have that, but they never messed with me. They never tried to ha-ha me. They never tried to bully me or any of the thing they did to other guys.
Well, that's
So,
good.
they knew their place, and they knew who to mess with and who not to mess with.
I listened to one of your interviews, and you really put over Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, for
Right.
being one of the few guys when you came in that actually would pull you aside and give you advice. And with Scott recently passing away, I feel like now more than ever, there are a lot of people paying tribute to the worker and the great wrestling mind that Scott was. So talk to me about your experience getting feedback with Scott and what that was like for you.
Yeah, I did a match one time, and then when I got done with it, I was coming to the back. I thought it was a great match, but Scott stopped me, and he was like, "Look, I mean, you need to do more of this and less of this, and incorporate this in your match." And I was shocked and very excited that Scott Hall would, take me under his wing for a short bit and tell me things like that. And it was an honor, for him to do that, and he didn't have to.
Yeah,
Where everybody else was all standoffish because, like I said, I was the big guy coming in with high flying moves, and most of the big guys there were jealous of that.
sure.
Scott came right up to me and told me what he, seen that he liked and he didn't like in my match, and I appreciated that, man. I truly did, and he wasn't the only one. Ultimate Warrior did one time
Oh, really?
when he came back, yeah, to the WWF. He called me in his locker room, and I was very shocked. And he was like, "I mean, why don't you come and get dressed with me?"
Oh,
And I
wow.
didn't know this cat from anybody. I knew he was the Warrior, but I didn't know him.
Yeah,
Know him? Yeah, and I went in his locker room, man, and he coached me up a little bit and told me a little bit of history about things that went on, things that went on that we already know what all that is.
sure.
But he was a very pleasant guy to me, and everybody else talked bad about it.
Yeah,
You know, but I'm type like person like this. To me, you only judge a man by the way a man treats you. Like this interview, if I was all snobby and nasty with you, then somebody asks you, how was your interview with Ahmed? Oh man, he was an asshole, you know, didn't have. So you judge a man by the way a man treats you, because I might not treat the next interviewer like I'm treating you. It's, you
Right.
know, it goes off, you know, what you feel, how the interviewer's doing. Same thing in a wrestling match. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, Warrior is one of the nicest guys out there. At least to me, he was.
Sure. That's great to hear because, like you said, it's kind of a mixed bag as far as feedback goes about the Warriors. So the fact that you had a pleasant experience, that's always a
Mhm.
positive thing to hear. When we talk about guys that you really got along with backstage in WWE, you mentioned Warrior. We kind of talked about Owen and British Bulldog. Were there any individuals that you were particularly close to? Maybe guys that you traveled with, guys that you went to the gym with?
Well, I traveled with the Nation. We all traveled together, and you know, you travel with different people. Like one time, I traveled with Taker, and it was Yoko, Taker, me, and I forgot who else was in there. But that poor car was crying, had all that weight on it, you know.
Yeah.
But it was I really didn't have one individual that I was tight with, you know. It was just I took everybody for face value.
Sure. Traveling with Taker, obviously, since then, and even at that point, he was becoming a legend, but he's had one of the most legendary careers in the
Yes,
history
yeah.
of professional wrestling. What kind of knowledge and feedback did you get from a guy like The Undertaker?
Well, just watching him, you get a lot of knowledge and feedback. You know, watch how he pops the crowd. Watch how the crowd responds to him. Is his like slow get up, you know, when he raises up, and you just got to watch little details like that when you're wrestling. You know, pay attention to the small details.
Sure. The small details make a big picture.
Right, that's something I wish I would have done more. But somebody like Taker, you get into that mindset to where you start watching every little thing he does, and it helps you game.
You were actually on the verge of working with The Undertaker in the main event of Canadian
Yes.
Stampede 1997. You were going to wrestle for the WWF Championship. Now, this is after you turn and join the Nation, which I want to go back and touch on in a second. But that opportunity slips away because of a knee injury, if I'm correct there.
Right.
Um, Talk to me about how that felt going into that match, having that taken away from you because of a knee injury, and just do you know the plans going forward? Were you going to get the WWF Championship from The Undertaker at Canadian Stampede?
I think I was. I
Wow.
think I was. I don't know. I can't say for 100%, but the way they were building it up, I think I was. It was going to be for me and the Nation, but
Now,
fell through.
one thing that I was actually curious about. So you end up turning and joining the Nation. The creative behind that. You had feuded with the Nation for so long, and you were such a popular babyface. What? Who made that decision for you to turn? How did you feel about that turn?
Vince made the decision, I believe, for me to turn. I didn't think it was a good one, because we had so much heat with each other. I didn't think that the turn was good at that point that they were doing it. But I see why once he had me give the Undertaker my finish, it started coming together. That's what he was planning on doing.
It's interesting because when you go out with your injury, a guy by the name of Rocky Maivia ends up coming back. He joins the Nation of Domination. I don't know if that guy went on to do anything after this, but he ends up becoming the leader of the Nation by 1998.
Right.
Now, I don't know how much they told you in advance. Perhaps maybe you were going to win the WWF Championship at Canadian Stampede, but do you think if things were different, I don't know. Does Rocky Maivia enter the Nation if you're not injured? Do you inevitably become the leader of the Nation? Are these scenarios that you've ever thought about or have some insight
I
to?
think I would have became the leader of the Nation. Which would have been a trip. But when they broke apart, Vince called us off to his office, and he was like, "Ahmed, I'm going to take you out the Nation." And we were like, "What? You just put me in the Nation? I mean, it wasn't but a short run." And we asked him why. He said, "Well, I was watching you guys walk down the ramp, And he said, there is nobody going to believe that you guys can be beat by anybody. And so therefore, I'm going to take you out, and you go back to fighting against Nation. But by that time, we had been fighting, man, almost a year.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
But the crowd loved it every minute of it. Every time we did it, they popped in. They loved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you talk about, the fear and the intimidation that a group of you guys could bring, I can understand why maybe Vince thought, maybe it's not believable that anybody could beat you guys. But we've talked about your personal intensity, your athleticism. I want to go back, way back to your childhood real quick. And
Okay.
I don't know if this maybe plays a role in it, because for me, I didn't have the best childhood growing up. I was bullied as a kid. My parents were very verbally, could be physically abusive as well. And as I got older and decided that I wanted to get into professional wrestling, I never really did anything athletic in my life, but I really pushed myself towards weightlifting, building my body up. And then I wanted to prove people wrong by becoming a professional wrestler. You encountered incredible odds as a child. There's a lot of things that you
Right.
went through, and I don't know how much you want to talk about that here, but did the experiences you went through as a child drive you towards athletics? Was there something that was instilled in you that maybe you wanted to prove someone like your father wrong, and maybe become a superstar wrestler? Like how did your childhood experiences shape you as the man you are today?
Well, that intensity you seen come to the ring, that was mostly from my childhood. Because I would think angrily, about what my father did, and it would really kind of blow the roof off the joint, as far as me thinking back, and it helped me with my intensity and helped me with my power. So in a way, I hate to say this, but in a way, all that bad came to something good because it helped me get in the weight room. Because I wanted to be stronger than him one day because I wanted to beat him up. So I mean, all that intensity and all that rage was from him.
Yeah.
And in a way, I felt bad about it, but in a way, it helped me get where I had to get in sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking to you, it seems like you're in such a great place now in your life. And me personally, I'm in a great place in my life. But speaking for myself, sometimes I think there's little particles of that chip on my shoulder that still
Sir,
drive me to remember that even though I'm in a good place now, I had to go through a lot of crap to become the man I am today. I can
exactly.
imagine that if you could go back in time, as brutal as some of those moments in your life may have been, would you have changed anything that happened to you? Or are you okay with how everything turned out?
I think I would have changed some of the beatings and stuff that I got.
Yeah,
Although it's that's a good question because on one hand I'm saying I would have changed it, but on the second hand, would it had changed me?
sure. It's a deep question.
Right. So you gotta think, you gotta weigh them on both scales. So yeah, I think I would have. I think I would have avoided all the beatings and stuff
Yeah.
because as a kid they were scary, man. That was some scary thoughts. To hear my dad's van pull up, or his motorcycle, his Harley pull up, you just knew he was gonna find something to be angry about.
Yeah.
And that was a very scary feeling as a kid to want to run and hide every time you hear a loud vehicle or something come up.
Yeah, I get it. I was there. I had fear of my dad too. Fortunately, now we have a decent relationship and we've sort of made amends on certain things. And I can forgive, but it's hard to forget because those scars, whether they're mental or physical, they stick with you.
Yes, very hard to forget.
Did some of the things that you went through with your father? I know you talked about in the past that you were in the Bloods for a while. Did the
Right.
experiences you went through as a kid, being scared and confused, did that drive you towards gang life?
Yes, it did.
What were
Very
those
much.
experiences like for you? I can't imagine they were very pleasant.
No, none of them were very pleasant. You get involved with the gang, man, and you basically signing your life away because you could be shot, killed at any time, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was just another. I didn't realize it as a kid, but that was just adding more chocolate to the cake, you know. As far as you being scared when your dad come home, you're scared to walk the streets because you know you done somebody wrong and you might get shot, you know. That was just adding on to it. But in a way, I used to say to myself that being dead would be a blessing. You know, I wanted to die. I wanted somebody to kill me. But, you know, they never did. And that's all in the past now.
Sure. What was it that got you away from that?
Um, what got me away from it? I'll have to say going to the military really woke me up.
Yeah.
But I even had, you know, bad intentions in the military with people, you know. Like a drill sergeant came to me one time and I just couldn't take it anymore. Him yelling at me because it was so much like your childhood. You know, he's yelling at me, calling me names, but this is drill sergeant. You got to respect them. You know, you got to stay at attention, and you got to whatever he calls you or does to you, spit on you, whatever he wanted to do. You're not supposed to do nothing. But at one time, I couldn't take it no more, and I just went off on him. I was like, you know, you so and so, you want to get down right now? Let's do this right now. You want to fight? Let's go. And then my other drill sergeant came out and grabbed me. And he was like, "What are you doing, Private? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh man, I didn't realize, you know, I had lost touch to where I was and who I was talking to."
Yeah.
That was from childhood, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Those experiences that it'll shape you and it'll change you.
Oh yeah.
One thing that just popped in my brain that I didn't address from earlier, you grew up in Florida, correct?
Well, I was born in Indiana, raised up in Florida.
Where did you being from Pearl River, Mississippi come from?
I have no idea.
You have no idea because you're like the Pearl River Powerhouse. You have the Pearl River
I
Plunge.
haven't even been to Mississippi, I don't think.
So you have no idea where this came from.
I don't even know where Mississippi is on the map. But
I
yeah,
love it.
I have no idea where that came from, bro.
Jeez. Well, that might be the highlight of this interview right here. Um, let's jump forward in time a little bit. One thing that I've never heard anyone talk to you about, and I don't know if you realize this, but maybe about 15 years ago when YouTube became a thing, one of the first viral wrestling things on YouTube was a compilation of your promos from the WWF Warzone video game. Do you know about this at all?
Not really.
I'll have to send them to you after this, but basically the intensity of your promos and the way that you're talking, someone took the time to translate what they thought that you were saying, and it made for a very interesting video, and it's something that still lives on YouTube this day. But it got me to wondering, today WWE superstars, they get huge royalty checks off of
Right.
these WWE video games. Back during that time, you ended up being in two video games, that being Warzone, which we just mentioned, and In Your House. I remember for Wrestlemania, the arcade game, a little bit before your time, they had to do motion capture for that game, which was sort of ahead of its time. Did you have to do that for In Your House? Do you remember the experience of recording these promos for Warzone? Talk to me about your memories of taking part in the video game, and were the royalties anything like they are today? You don't have to give me exact numbers.
Well, no, royalties back then in our game, we only got 2 point something percent.
Oh, wow.
It came so it was nothing. It was a waste of time, really.
Yeah.
But making the games were fun. When they brought us in, they flew us in and, you know, put us on the green screen and put these little dots on us, little like light bulb things. And making the game was fun, man. Then to see it, you know, all come together at the end, it was great.
I mean, it had to be a dream come true to be featured in video games, get action figures.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had your own T-shirt line. If someone approached you today with Mattel, they have a large line of legend action figures that they came out with. Would you be open to the idea of signing some sort of contract for a Ahmed Johnson legend action figure.
Oh, sure, if the money was right.
That it's all about the money, man. You got to get that right amount of money.
Money, right? Yeah.
It,
But it
it,
couldn't be any worse than 2%.
well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I could see them coming with about 4 or 5 elbow pads and knee pads that they could slide on Ahmed. It would be a great figure.
Oh, yeah.
Um, your WWF run ends in 1998 because you end up leaving for good reason. Your sister was battling cancer and you wanted to spend time with your sister, which I find to be very admirable. You took time away from the ring. Um, did you do any indies or anything before you end up going to WCW, or did you just kind of take a break altogether from professional wrestling after the
I kind of
situation with
just
your
took a
sister?
break. I kind of just took a break altogether. No, I just took a break, man.
What led you to WCW?
Steve Ray was a good friend of mine, and I haven't spoke to him in a while, but he was a good friend of mine, and he needed somebody to come in as his tag team partner because Booker would want the guy to kind of go on his own. So Booker kind of broke off and went and did his thing, and Stevie was out there all alone. He needed a tag team partner. So I went on and he called me and asked me would I want to do it one day. When I was like, sure. I mean, this is a dream of mine come true. Me and my childhood buddy going to be tagging together, you know. So that's what got me into WCW.
You end up being called Big T, and you guys are Harlem Heat 2000. Your run there only lasts a couple months. What was the experience like in WCW compared to the WWF, and what led to your departure from the company?
Well, the WWF and the difference was the guys. Like in WWF, they cry a lot about, oh, he hit me too hard, or this, that, and other. And I was not even in shape when I went to WCW, and I was hitting them guys, and nobody ever complained, ever cried about it or anything. And I know a couple of, shots I threw was, shooting on them. I didn't mean to do it on purpose, but it came out that way. And they never did cry, never did, complain or anything. So the guys seemed to be a lot tougher from WCW.
How did you feel about the Harlem Heat 2000 storyline? Because it seems to get a lot of flack online today. People think I mean, probably for good reason. They think it's kind of absurd that the main core of the feud was based on the rights to the letter T. How did you feel about that whole situation when it's pitched to you? Do you just want to team with your buddy and work with your friends from the past and get paid, or are you kind of hesitant about the storyline?
Yeah, it was corny, man. It was corny. I was like, what? We're battling over the letter T. Who are we, the after school special program or something?
Sesame Street, WCW Sesame Street.
I'm not, it was just corny, man. I didn't feel it. I wasn't into it. I couldn't get Ahmed Johnson's character get in there, the intensity I had. I couldn't bring all that with me. It was just, I don't know who even thought of that, but that was silly, man.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous. One of my favorite parts about your run in WCW, I think, and you might not even remember this, but there's a backstage segment where you're wearing this amazing bright pink No Limit jumpsuit. It is the coolest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And if I could find one of those, I would wear it today. Where were you buying an outfit like that back in 2000?
At this little store they got up here.
Okay. What's the name of it? I got to write it down.
Man, I don't even remember what the name of it was. I know where it's at, but I don't know the name of it.
Damn it. All right. Well, maybe I'll have to search for a vintage one on eBay one day. But that was the highlight for me. But what led to your departure in WCW?
Just me not wanting to be there at that time, me not being in shape, me just not ready.
Yeah. When you leave WCW, you end up doing some indie shots. Did you went overseas for a little bit, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Japan for a while.
There you go. So talk to me about some of your experience in Japan on the indies. And according to the internet, and this may or may not be true, your career ends up winding down in 2003. Talk to me about what led to your departure from professional wrestling.
First of all, Japan was nice in a way, and it was bad in a way. I mean, as far as food and stuff go, I have to pass on all that. But it was, the guys were nice and everything, and the people were nice, and so on with that. And as far as me leaving professional wrestling, I just got burnt out with it, man, with the, going back and forth. And my wife was pregnant, and it was just time for me to go.
Was there ever any thought about maybe doing more movies and stuff? Because I know you did a couple films, one of which was you played Suge Knight in the MC
Right.
Hammer story. Were movies ever an option for you?
They were, and they still are. I'm thinking about, once I get back in shape, I'm thinking about hitting up, some more movie scenes and see what I can get.
That'd be awesome.
You
That'd be really cool to see.
They pay the Rock a grip.
Yeah, gotta get that Rock paycheck.
Man, just give me 10% of what he make, I'll be happy.
How do you feel about all the success of The Rock? I mean, you knew him in the infancy of his career, and now he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's the biggest box office attraction. What are your
Right.
thoughts?
Well, I think, he got what he did. I mean, he was a good interviewer, man. He was good on the mic, and all that. I think he deserved what he's getting.
Looking back, you had a short run in the WWF, but it's a very memorable run. I think you accomplished a lot. Like I said, his story, it being the first WWF Intercontinental Champion, African American. Is there anything that you wish you would have accomplished outside of the WWF Championship during your run?
During my run,
Yeah.
I wish I would have got that world title.
I mean, that's the pinnacle.
Yeah, I still wish I got that. Because then, that would have locked everything down. The first black Intercontinental Champion, first black, world title holder, that would have been great, but it didn't happen. So I'm not going to cry with spilled milk.
Was there a dream opponent for you that you never got to get in the ring with?
You know who I would like to wrestle in this time or back then?
Either or. Give me both.
I would love to go against Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley for this present. Back then, I would love if me and the Warrior could have hooked up, or me and Psycho Sid.
That would have been awesome. You said in interviews you were real close with Sid. Sid is another guy that's sort of a polarizing figure. What was your friendship like with Sid?
So we had a good. We never had any arguments or any blowbacks or anything. I thought he was a great dude, man. Regardless of what people say about him, I thought he was a great dude.
A lot of people say that he was a big softball guy. Did you ever see Sid play softball?
No, I never seen it, but I heard that too. I heard he loved softball.
So someone, when they heard I was doing this interview with you, my buddy Ryan Crosdalahala on Facebook, he asked me to ask you if you have any memories from the celebrity softball game from the WrestleMania 12 weekend that you'd like to share.
I remember that very well.
Talk to me about that experience.
It was just a fun time, I played catcher.
Okay.
And it was just a very fun time. Nothing spectacular happened, but just the people out there and us playing softball against other celebrities. It was cool, man.
Yeah. This has been a great experience talking to you, because I feel like, the internet community, as far as pro wrestling goes, is an interesting bunch. And I feel like that you get a lot of flack, probably not undeserved, because, and as you said, you got to treat a man the way they treat you. And you have been nothing but kind in this experience. And I can't thank you enough. So it's like, seeing how happy and positive you are in your life really warms my heart. And today, present day, you had such an incredible run during your short run, but incredible. If the WWE approached you about coming back and doing something like the Hall of Fame, is that something you'd be open to doing?
Yes. I think, being the first African-American Intercontinental Champion, I think I deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think for sure. If they wanted you to come back in some sort of capacity, like some sort of guest role or something, is that something you'd be open to as well?
Oh yeah, I would. I would.
I want to ask you some quick questions, just rapid fire. You could say as much as little as you want to kind of wrap this up. Does that sound good to you?
Okay.
Cool. Do you have a favorite musical artist?
Jermaine Dupri is mine.
Okay, good choice. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? The Avengers.
Classic. Love it. My I'm sure my girlfriend is listening to this. I was way behind on Marvel movies. I just saw the first Avengers movie, and listen, man, I'm catching up because I've been sporadic with my Marvel movies. There's certain characters that I lean towards, like I've made sure to see all the Spider-Man movies and all that, but it's like I'm behind. Please don't judge me, Ahmed. All right. Do you have a favorite Marvel character?
My favorite character was Iron Man. I have to get to Iron Man.
Okay. All right. Good choice. I like that. Favorite agent to work with during your time in WWF?
Favorite agent? I'll say Briscoe.
What was it about Briscoe that you liked?
Well, really, he was like, I guess, signed to me. You know, tell me about my matches, who I had, what we've done, and kind of just grew on him from there.
Did you have a favorite referee to work with?
Not really.
Okay, fair. Is there one thing in the WWF you wish you could have done over?
Yeah, I wish I could have left in a different way.
Fair enough.
Or more thought.
Yeah, but like, knowing the situation with your sister, I don't know. I feel like probably spending those last days with her, if you wouldn't have done that, I can imagine that it could have been something that you would have regretted for the rest of your life.
Right. The only thing that I'm saying when I say I regret and just could spend more time is I didn't tell Vince the real story, because growing up like I grew up as you did, we don't tell people our problems. Most of our problems, we suck them up and deal with them in a little ball inside of us and let it just fester in there. But I wish I would have told Vince the real deal why I was leaving.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Flash Funk, any thoughts on him?
Wow, crazy.
He's still wild. I do shows with him all the time, and he's a character. I love Too Cold.
Dude, I love him, man. He was a good dude, man.
Any good Too Cold Scorpio stories?
Then I don't think he's gonna be to tell.
Okay, I kind of figured that was the response I was gonna get. Any Diesel memories?
No, not at all.
Not much interaction with Kevin Nash?
No.
What about Brian Pillman?
No action with him either.
Bret Hart?
Bret, super cool guy, man. Super cool.
Did he ever teach you anything that stands out to you in the ring or anything like that?
No, just standing back in the back curtain watching him, man, you can pick up on a lot of stuff,
Yeah, one of the all-time greats for sure.
Right.
A polarizing figure that's been in the media recently for a lot of wrong reasons. Any thoughts on Sunny?
Oh, who?
Sunny.
Oh my God.
Have you seen the recent news with her?
Yes, she's been a turd from the word go, man. I hate to say it, but she's been doomed from word go.
Yeah.
I mean, she never learned a lesson. And God knows she had decided she had learned the life of somebody else,
Yeah. It's
I don't feel sorry for her.
It's a messed up situation. Any thoughts on Mankind?
Just crazy.
He was definitely a wild man. Speaking of wild man, Mark Marrow, any thoughts on him?
Mark was always a cool dude too, man. He was always real mellow back in the locker rooms.
D'Lo Brown? Not a fan.
Dumbass. It's a dumbass.
What was the situation with D'Lo?
He'd go around telling people that he beat me up.
Now that you mentioned, I did remember hearing that in one of the interviews.
He said he put me in a full Nelson, and that was beating me up. So full Nelson, what you call beat up, you don't want me to show you what beat up's all about.
Yeah, could have been a different situation for sure.
Like being a full Nelson and say the deep, man, I would kill D-Lo.
Did that happen?
No, I don't even know where D-Lo get that from. Him put me in a full Nelson.
I think there's another story out there, some sort of altercation between you and The Rock. Did that ever happen?
Yeah, we had altercation.
What was that about?
About him just basically been running his mouth, but he shouldn't have been running it.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on Duke the Dumpster Droese?
I like Duke, man. I didn't have any problem with Duke, man.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast not too long ago. Pretty good guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I never had any problems with Duke.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
One of the best.
He's a legend. He's a legend for sure.
Yes, he is.
I guess that's all the names I got here. Do you have a favorite food?
A favorite food?
Yeah.
I'm a sushi man.
Okay. All right. I respect that.
I love me some sushi, man.
Are you a soup guy? And if you had a choice between chicken noodle or wonton beef stew, what would you pick?
Wonton.
I respect that too. Listen, I don't know why I'm going to end on that, but I'm going to end on that. I actually have one more question that I ask everybody before I ask that. Listen, I can't thank you enough for taking way more time than you told me we were going to take. So I definitely owe you one for this one. This has been one of the best interviews I've ever done. It's been a pleasure conversing with you and getting to know more about you. I know you're a father today, and I got to imagine that the tragedies that you went through as a child that really influenced you to raise your kids in a much different manner than you were raised.
Right.
Am I right? So maybe I know where this is going, but today, 2022, Ahmed Johnson, Big T, Tony Norris, he's lived quite the life. Today, what inspires you? What keeps you going?
My kids, you hit that right on the bucket. You hit that right on the bucket.
How many kids do you have?
Let me count again. 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ahmed getting busy.
Yes, indeed. They're all grown down there. They're all adults now. So now I'm by my lonesome again.
Oh, well, you weren't alone tonight, because we had a nice conversation, and I very enjoyable. I can't wait for everyone to hear this and get the feedback about it, and maybe see a side of Ahmed Johnson that they didn't know was out there.
Right.
Because everybody has a story, and you have quite the incredible story. And do you have any social media or anything, any appearances coming up that you'd like to plug?
No, not that I can remember.
If anybody would want to get in contact with you for autograph signings, personal appearances, is a way that they can do so.
Just go to Facebook.
Just look up Tony Norris.
Yeah, so Tony Norris or Ahmed Johnson, either one.
Sounds good.
Tony, you too, man. This is one of the smoothest interviews I've ever done. Don't you give this up, man, because you're too good at this.
I appreciate you saying that, but I think it's just because I'm obsessed with the WWF from this time period. I have notes in front of me, but I barely looked at them. It's very sad.
But with your notes in front of you, I mean, your interview method is so smooth, and it's just so great until I didn't even pay attention to the time.
I appreciate that. That means very much. I'm going to keep going, and I just can't thank you enough for this interview, and hopefully we can keep in touch.
Okay, brother, no problem. Call me anytime.